All right. Um, Recap for Thursday, July 23rd. Um, what did we do today? Well, we basically delivered daily internal to external. Um, Not quite reaching the external, but we rejected this daily gap now finally. And actually made a move, so that's nice. Um, yeah. So price action wise, what kind of happened is overnight, right? We open basically we consolidate uh, up into New York and then approaching New York, right? 7, 8 a.m. hourly candles start selling off. And at 9 a.m., we get a slight wick back up after the open and then continue and take out this low and then make our way towards this low, fall short. And then we had a hourly gap right here that I thought could potentially offer the internal external completion of this daily internal external. So that's kind of what I was looking at today. That hourly gap will be important. So yeah, let's jump down to the 15, and then we can see here this 930 Judas swing up into this 15-minute gap. We reject, and after a lot of chop here at this 15-minute propulsion block, we finally break down and continue that sell-off. Macro wise, 950 is in this kind of consolidation of the propulsion block. 1050 is kind of in this sell-off. 1150 is after we tap the hourly gap, which I believe is right here. If we're looking at this, like the hourly gap is essentially, no, this one, like this. So at 1150, we had just tapped that hourly gap, and there was like a potential short there. Then going into the 1250 macro, we had, while coloring outside lines on the 50-minute, as you saw earlier on the hourly, we'd respected this gap on the hourly chart. And then we got consecutive candle SMT here, 1245 to 1. And there was another opportunity to look for a short, kind of with that hourly internal external in mind, which we subsequently actually did somewhat deliver. Well, only somewhat. So, yeah, that's that. And then if we jump down to the 1 minute, we can see here this 930 Judas swing, which was basically the cleanest move of the day. Afterwards, this is ugly. 1050 macro, or not 1050, but 950 macro wise, there was no like real SMT at any highs or lows. Like there wasn't really anything to do in this consolidation here. So just, sitting and waiting. Then 1050 wise, same thing. We were just in the sell off already. 1150. There was this where we we had SMT at this 15-minute gap here. So if I just quickly drop this down to the 1 minute, NQ had tapped this 15-minute gap inside of that hourly and fair value gap, right, which I was framing the hourly internal off of. And ES had not tapped this same 15-minute. So we had our SMT at this 15-minute, and then within the macro still we got this cheeky order block where we had taken out these relative equal highs here. So we purged these, right? Making this a valid order block, even though we didn't really have a short-term high here on this side that we took, but we had these over here inside the 15-minute gap with SMT. Then we get displacement here still within the macro below this order block. And I was thinking, maybe like I was obviously the framework I had in mind was hourly internal external. I was thinking, yeah, it's a possibility that we just like give it a little tap, right? Like the hourly gap was at the 11 o'clock. So it was exactly this too, right? So we dug into that a bit. And then I thought, yeah, maybe we're just gonna insta rip, um, as we had been pretty bearish. So I think all in all, this trade kind of looks stupid in hindsight since it just continues higher. But like low time frame, or not low time frame, but in the moment, it's at least a valid setup. Is it a great setup? Eh, you know, obviously, maybe I'm just letting the hindsight result dampen my, opinion of it. But I mean, it's a fine setup, right? Maybe it's not the best, but it's valid. It had logic behind it with the high time frame and all that good stuff. But yeah, happens to not work out. Then, as I mentioned, going into the next macro, we had this 15-minute SMT here, and to me, this was like prime bearishness. Like we had just kind of rejected the hourly gap and showed that we are willing to respect it, and then we trade into this 5-minute FVG here with consecutive candle SMT like this to YM, I believe it was, and yeah, I was first looking for this as the entry, but we closed below, we didn't retrace, so I extended down to this breaker, right? We have the high right here, you could say, or here, it doesn't really matter. Then the low here, higher high here, with the SMT on the higher high, we displace, and I'm expecting just, a quick little continuation with that hourly internal external in mind, but that hourly internal external turned out to kind of be the bane of my existence on this day, because yeah, the trade actually went where I was expecting it to go, but it reran the highs one more time before doing so, unfortunately. But yeah, the hourly internal external never actually delivered, because right at the end of the New York session we got like the rip of the century back up. But yeah, unfortunate circumstances, I would say. Like the move kind of that I was expecting almost played out. Like, I mean, we got a 270 point sell off or 250 point sell off after reaching the hourly gap. But just the setups that formed for me could not capitalize on that sell off, unfortunately. So yeah, rough day here, but that's just how it's going to be, I guess, sometimes. So yeah, that's the recap for Thursday. Yeah.